is drying on the wall. And so there's two, that's how it works. There's two, you know how in India they put the cow patty on the wall and they dry it, and they use it as fuel. So one of the cow patties is being thrown into the fire. And the cow patty that's drying on the wall says, ha, 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 you're in the fire. What does the cow patty in the fire say back to the one drying on the wall? He says, you're next. So you're all young and fresh, and I'm all dried up, but you're next. Use your time wisely, my friends. Use it because you won't have it long. Okay. Srinaruvacha Brahmachari Guru-kula Vasan Danto Guru Hitam Acharan Dasavan Niko Guru Sudrada Sohrida Srinaruvacha Brahmachari Guru-kula Vasandanto Guru-hitam Acharanda Savanniko Guru Sudrada Sohrida Srinaruvacha Brahmachari Guru-kula Vasandanto Guru-hitam Acharanda Savanniko Guru Sudrada Sohrida Srinaruvacha Brahmachari Guru-kula Vasandanto Guru-hitam Acharanda Savanniko Guru Sudrada Sohrida. Brahmachari Guru-kula Vasandanto Guru-hitam Acharanda Savanniko Guru Sudrada Sohrida. Srinaruvacha Brahmachari Guru-kula Guru Sudrada Vaishnavis Srinaruvacha Brahmachari Guru-kula Vasandanto Guru-hitam Acharanda Savanniko Guru Sudrada Sohrida. All right. Who's moving us forward? Okay, Sham. We'll go to the next. And I think because of time, we're going to skip this. Next. So here's the translation. Narada Muni, the Sanskrit was a little messed up when it went through Google, whatever, Drive. Okay, so Narada Muni said, a student should practice complete controlling his senses. He should be submissive and should have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmachari should live at the guru-kula only for the benefit of the guru. Also you say, Narada Muni said, a student should practice completely controlling his senses. He should be submissive and should have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmachari should live at the guru-kula only for the benefit of the guru. Okay, next. So, I'm any senior devotee when they're traveling, they're always asked, oh, Prabhu, oh, Maharaj, how can we make advancement? They're always asking us that. Although Prabhupada said, everything is in my books. But devotees are always looking for a key or a secret or a shortcut. Well, because here's the thing. We want to, why are we in the Hare Krishna ashram? So, what is this? Oh, Govardhan, I need you to run and get the black one. Oh, Govardhan is expert. He's Krishna's mercy on me. Well, I guess you can see it. But see, we're looking for a key, a shortcut, because we want to wind up like this. The Hare Krishna movement, the name's right in the title. We want to become Krishna conscious. Because what does Krishna consciousness mean? We'll get into it. But if we want to get here, how do we do it? Next. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, if you want a secret, a key, a shortcut, from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, sounds like a good source to me. So he says, Trinadapi sunichena tororeva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sada hadi. He said we should wear this garland, this verse, like a garland around our neck. It is a shortcut. It is a key. It is, there it is. So, and we're going to unpack that verse. That's what we're going to do today. Because it is a Mahavakyam, key verse. So wear this garland, wear this verse like a garland around your neck. So next. And this, of course, is from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's foundational instruction. Siksastakam. Next. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, ready to offer all respects to others, while expecting no respect for oneself. And what happens? In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. And what does that experience like? So we're going to get there. So you follow this verse, you wear it like a garland around your neck, and in that state of mind, you'll be able to chant and remember the Lord constantly. Well, why do I want to do that? What's that state? That's the next thing we're going to go into. Okay, next. So lower than a straw in the street, next. So it's in an insignificant, most humble position. Ready to, Govardhan and I, on the way up on the freeway, we were trying to get over. And the guy behind us, obviously, was what we wanted to do. He didn't want to slow down, didn't want to back up, didn't want to concede his position. So in even such a, wouldn't move, even it's such an insignificant thing, but it's infused in everybody. So being humble is more painful than death. It's a very humble position. You let someone step on your head, do this and that. Okay, next. In the beginning of knowledge, therefore, is humility. This is a quote from Prabhupada's purport to Bhagavad Gita. If you want to open the door to knowledge, it's not that, I went to Harvard. It's got nothing to do with it. Harvard just adds fuel to the fire of false ego. We're not anti-education. Don't send me the emails. So but it's humility, Prabhupada says, because what is our actual position in the universe? Who are we? Anyway. One devotee kept interrupting Prabhupada, said, Prabhupada, this was a Loka, I forget her name. Her husband also had a similar name. They were in Detroit. Anyway, in Chicago and Detroit. Anyway, she kept interrupting Prabhupada, saying, Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen, I'm the most this, After the third or fourth time, distracting the talk, Prabhupada said, actually, you're not the most anything, sit down. So we're not really the most anything, okay, next. But humility being the key. Tamal Krishna Maharaj told me this. He was sitting with Prabhupada. He was the temple commander of LA. And LA was at the time, I think next to New Vrindavan or simultaneously, it was the largest temple in ISKCON. It was Prabhupada's Western world headquarters, and still is. New Dwarkadam Ki Jai. Just as a shout out to New Dwarka, Prabhupada stayed here off and on for almost a year, 1969, 1970. And his idea was, and it worked, was to establish the standards for ISKCON. Vishnu Jan Maharaj was here for Harinam under Tamal Krishna Maharaj. It was a robust, Shalavati was the head pujari. And he trained them all. He trained Dayanidhi as a president and treasurer. And devotees from around the world, from Australia, Europe, came here and learned. So New Dwarka sets the standard. Okay, so Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked Prabhupada, I have this very important position as the temple commander of Los Angeles, your Western world headquarters. And I'm afraid I'm going to become puffed up with this big position. I'm going to become intoxicated with all the power and prestige. So what should I do? And he said, here's what you think. You think about Mahavishnu lying down, Karanadakshay Vishnu, and all the universes emanating from the pores of his body and his breathing. You got the picture in your head? All the universe. And then you think that Garbhodakshay Vishnu expands and lies down on that ocean, in that one of those bubbles, unlimited, more than the grains of sand or stars in the sky. So in one of those universes, Garbhodakshay Vishnu lies down, and from his lotus, you know how it works, Lord Brahma on the top of the lotus, and he creates unlimited planets, so many planets. And then on every planet, there's so many continents. Every continent, there's so many countries. Every country, so many provinces or counties. Every county, so many cities. Every city, so many blocks. Every block, so many streets, so many houses. Every house, so many rooms. You got the projection from Mahavishnu all the way there. And in one of those rooms is Tamal Krishna Goswami thinking, I'm very important. So if we keep things in perspective, what do we have to be puffed up about? So, next. And this is a story, I forget where I heard it, but Guru Nanak, he was a devotee actually. You read his writings. He was a very nice devotee. You know, in the Sikh line. So a traveling sannyasi, he visits the town, and usually every town there's some nice temple, and every temple they have some pravachan or some talk at night when a sannyasi comes, and the villagers all come and get enlightened. So this sannyasi was visiting, and he was going to give a talk that night. So this man asked his friend, very wealthy man, and that's nothing wrong with being wealthy individually, it's what your consciousness is. So the man asks his friend, oh, this nice Maharaj is speaking, come to the temple tonight. And the guy says, no way, I'm not going. He says, I know what happens. They talk about depend on Krishna, but then they call me over and they ask for something. They want money or cows, or I'm not going. I'm not going to be suckered again. I'm not going. So his friend said, no, this is a very nice sannyasi. And you've got so much, whatever, don't worry. And knowing the man's mentality, the rich man, his friend said, and they'll have excellent prasadam with kachoris. All right, he's in, he's coming. He's got it all calculated. He's going to sit behind a column. The guy won't see me. And afterwards, I'll get a good meal. They might even have jalebis and kachoris. I can tolerate anything for that. So he comes. And then the nice sannyasi gives a nice pravachan, glorifies Krishna, speaks from Bhagavad Gita. So after the pravachan, the guy looks at his watch. Hey, I made it. It's time for prasadam, But no. The sadhu calls him over. And he says, I need your help. And the rich man thinks, I knew it. You got me. He said, I want to know if you can help me with something. So he said, okay, what's it going to be? How much money? And the sadhu says, I have this needle. I use this needle for repairing my cloth. And I lose it all the time. You think about a little needle, you lose it. He said, I lose it all the time. Can you keep this needle? Let me ask you this. Who should I? Trijamani. If I give you a needle, can you keep it for me and give it to me my next life? Well, you're a nice brahmachari. I know you. You're a responsible person. Young lady here. Yeah, you. If I give you a needle for sewing up my cloth, can you keep it for me and give it to me in my next life? She wants to say yes, but she knows it's impossible. No. So, and the rich man got it. I'm so proud of having this and that and this qualification, but I can't even take a needle into my next life. So who am I? What have I got to be proud of? So humble. Next. And we've got good reason to be humble. If we think of all the nonsense, the average American in life, I forget all the numbers, but we'll wind up eating like 156 cows, 17 pigs, 15, whatever it is, 100 chickens. I mean, just that alone. I mean, those are all the things that the average American has shoveled down their throat. How many people have we offended? How many times have we allowed an injustice to go on before us? So when you think about it, how many people have we exploited? How many people's hearts have we broken, the average American? So we've got a good reason to be humble, remembering our past misdeeds. Okay, next. And here's from Bhagavad Gita. Well, why do I want to be humble? Yeah, but he's stepping on my head and taking advantage of me. I'm not going to be humble. I got to defend myself. But in Bhagavad Gita it describes, let me just read this list of qualities. Simple, averse to fault finding, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, forgiveness, freedom from envy, and from the passion for honor. Doesn't this sound like an attractive state? So we want to become humble. It's a valuable, let me ask you a question. Why is knowledge compared to shoes? Shoes aren't a very, we keep our shoes outside. You want to offend somebody, you throw a shoe at them. So why is is knowledge compared to shoes? Anybody want to hazard a guess? You'll still get prasadam. We'll still be friends. You get the wrong answer. Anybody home out there? Yeah. Huh? Oh, wear and tear. That's a good guess. Yeah. That's good. Closer. I'm looking for a specific answer, so I know that's not fair. But if I'm walking barefoot on a road, there's sticks, there's rocks, there's twigs. It's not so comfortable, right? I have to hop around. After a while, I can't make it any further. But if I put on shoes, what happens? The road of life becomes very easy to travel. In a similar fashion, to become humble, it's such an easier way to exist in this world. So humility, lower than the straw. If one understands these qualities, practices this way of looking at the world, and one becomes humble, just see what happens. One gains all these qualities. It's worthwhile. Next. So it also, tadvidhi panipatena, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. And you have to be submissive. You have to render service. And you want to ask somebody who's seen the truth, tattva darshana. So the point is, unless you're humble, you can't take it in. The ability to take good advice. Prabhupada tells, we can go a little bit longer today. Prabhupada tells the story about the man who is sawing here's a tree. Here's the butt tree, here's the trunk of the tree, here's the branch. And a guy is sitting here sawing away. What's going to happen? Yeah, the branch is going to snap, he's going to fall down. So a friend tells him, walks by, sees this fool sitting out on a branch sawing. And his friend says, hey, you nitwit, you're going to fall on your head. The guy says, hey, what do you know? Did you go to wood sawing school? run along, buddy. Who are you to tell me what to? Because they don't want to hear. They don't want to take advice. And then sure enough, when the branch cracks and the guy bangs his head, they meet the next morning. The guy who advised him and he's got a big bandage on his head. But he's too proud to even then admit that he's wrong. He says, oh, you must be a great astrologer. You can see the future. So the ability to take good advice, to hear. If you're not humble, you can't take good advice. It's one of the worst positions. You're just a bonehead. It's one of the worst positions to be in life. Next. The willingness to change and to grow. Who are you to tell me anything? I'm perfect, powerful, and that verse from Bhagavad Gita, divine and demonic nation. So the willingness, humility allows us to be willing to change and to grow. Okay, next. Oh, you got the idea. So Niranjana Swami and I were sitting on the veranda of the conch building in my Lotus building, in Mayapur. And this devotee came up. He was empowered with a fault-finding Shakti. And he went off on ISKCON. He went off on the brahmacharis, lazy, sandwich eaters. Went off on the householders over there enjoying their senses. Anyone who's been a householder and maintained a family, it's no picnic. So the sense-enjoying householders and lazy brahmacharis, arrogant sannyasis, power-hungry temple presidents. He went off on everybody. He went off on the women. After a while, I thought the only element of ISKCON, too much money spent on the deities. I said, the cows. He hasn't gone off on the cows yet. And then I swear to you, he said that is Kalp and the New Vrindavan. And I thought this guy is a perfect storm. He's managed to offend. And I was I'm not known for my patience. I was going to throttle the guy. But I thought, I'm sitting next to Niranjana Swami. I got to be a little careful here. So he finally ran out of steam. And then Niranjana Swami, you know Niranjana Swami? He's just a saintly person. He's a genuinely saintly person. Took it all in, and then he said, I can understand that you are an expert fault finder. But here's the crowning grace. He said, I think if you study your own heart, you will find sufficient subject matter. You know how heavy that is? You're finding fault in everybody. Look at yourself, buddy. Voltaire says, tend to your own garden. You're so worried about everybody else. Look at yourself. So, when you're going like this at somebody else, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you. So, humility, we got a lot to be humble about. Who are we? Next. And people say, well, that's low self-esteem, low sense of self-worth. You're always thinking how low and humble and fallen you are. Well, that's not a happy state. But look at Raghunath Das Goswami. This is when he didn't even want to beg for food. He'd go to the cow shed and wash the rotten rice and eat that. And look at his effulgent state. So it's not low self-esteem and feeling like you've got to crawl on the ground. Next. Remember, we're talking about feeling lower than the straw in the street. There's a lot in that statement. That's my point. Prabhupada points out that Vaishnavas are not inactive. There's two great epics that underpin the ethos of Vedic culture. There's the Ramayana and there's the Mahabharata. And Prabhupada said the hero, obviously Ramayana is Lord Ram, but actually it's Hanuman. And the hero of Mahabharata is actually, it all comes up to the battle of Kurukshetra and Arjuna. Now, did you find Hanuman, Arjuna, are they inactive? Are they weak-willed? Are they of low self-esteem? What do you think? No way. Next. So, Prabhupada, when Mr. Nair, who caused Prabhupada so much grief and tried to get the land back, Prabhupada said one time, what is it? Everyone is going back to Godhead except Mr. Nair. And Prabhupada used to refer to, he said, the Kurukshetra, New Juhu, we have New Vrindavan, we have New Dwarka, so there can be New Kurukshetra for the battle. So Prabhupada was not passive and unaggressive. You read that book by Giriraj. Anyone who has not read that book by Giriraj Maharaj is denying themselves one of the greatest pleasures. It's such a wonderful. Prabhupada said someone should write a book. So, no. You get in a fight with a devotee for Krishna, they're not going to give up. Next. So Prabhupada said this is a Vaishnava mood. Prabhupada was speaking in Paris, and it was right in the, I think it was the early 70s, it was right in the middle of power to the people, and the communists were almost taking over the French government. It was a big, power to the people, this, that. And Prabhupada talks in his talk, full of students in Paris. He's talking, if you want to have a peaceful life, society, you've got to organize according to Varna and Ashram. You can imagine that there's first class, second class, third class. How do you think these communist students reacted? And Kripamayi Mataji, who was there translating for Prabhupada, I mean, it was about to explode. It was a tinderbox. They were about to go off. And finally somebody stood up and said, oh, Prabhupada's sitting on the Vyasasana. Oh, I suppose you think you're first class. I suppose you think you're first class. And Prabhupada looked down and with such a softly, but the mic could pick it up, in such a deep, humble mood, Prabhupada said, no, I'm fifth class. I'm a servant of all the other classes. And the whole audience burst into applause. Prabhupada just turned it right around. So Prabhupada said that no, the Vaishnavas, we feel like we're a servant. Das, das, anu, das. Next. So from the lowest straw, I mean, what can you use straw for? So suppose you guys showed up, Prabhupada said an army runs on its stomach, and the brahmacharis are considered the soldiers in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. Suppose you went down and for breakfast, there was we'll be a little merciful. There was some water and a bale of hay. What would you think? Hey, okay, but so from straw, we get, Prabhupada said, the miracle food for men, old men and babies. Liquid religiosity, you get milk. So humility produces the most wonderful qualities and quality of life. Next. So more tolerant. What time is it? What time do we usually end? Well, everybody always says that. I'm wondering what to do, because I got a lot to say. So I think what I'm going to do, well, let's go another 10 minutes and see where we are. Next. So more tolerant than the tree. Heat, cold, wind, rain. You ever see a tree says, hey, I'm out of here. I had enough. I'll see you later. I'm going to Florida. They tolerate. Next, more tolerant than the tree. Prabhupada says that the measure of a person's strength is the ability to tolerate. Is this, I mean, that guy's going to become a bull or a bear. I don't know what he's going to be in his next life. So you look at the expression. So, but that's not strength. The strength, Prabhupada said, is the ability to tolerate. Next. Qualities of a Brahman. You know, samadhamastapasocam shantir. So self-control, austerity, tolerance. These are the things that come. Prabhupada was in, we're not going to finish this, so I have a little leeway now. Prabhupada speaking, are they fixed? Way to go. These break periodically. Prabhupada was speaking in Philadelphia. Rabindra Sarup Prabhu told me this. And Rabindra Prabhu had invited a professor of world religions who happened to be Indian. So Prabhupada thought, Rabindra thought, this will be a nice conversation. Turns out the guy was a born-again Christian and fanatic. And he said, oh, I can see that you are a Vaisnava, but I am a servant of Jesus. And your Krishna was a lusty, immoral, minor king. You can imagine how Prabhupada reacted, you know. Prabhupada turned it right around. Prabhupada was not one to back away. And brahmachari should not. We're more tolerant than the tree, we're humbler than a blade of grass. But when somebody attacks Krishna or the devotees, we don't roll over. So Prabhupada said, I see that you're married, because he had a ring. Prabhupada said, the real question is, what are you doing with one of Krishna's gopis? He said, you, sir. Krishna is the Purusha. Everyone else is Prakriti. Krishna is the enjoyer. Everyone else is meant to be enjoyed. So what are you doing with one of Krishna's gopis? You, sir, are the one who are lusty and exploitative. And it just jammed the guy's gears. He couldn't believe it. He thought, well, I'll show this little Vaishnava. And Prabhupada just turned it around and showed that he was a self-centered enjoyer. So he lost it. He did not have tolerance and humility. He blew it. And he actually began shouting at Prabhupada to the point that he actually shouted some 4-letter words. Now, you all know Big Brahmananda? Brahmananda. That's not happening. Brahmananda said, I think you better leave now, sir. And he literally grabbed the guy by his collar and by his pants, carried him out the room, and right outside the darshan room was opened the door and threw him out on the street. I mean, we should take the spirit and not the example. But Prabhupada was pleased with him, you know. So, see the qualities you get when you... So then the devotees said, Prabhupada, what's going to happen to him? You know, shouting swear word at a pure devotee of Krishna. I mean, that guy's wandering in the Himalayas like Asvatthama. He has to drink boiling ghee. Where's this guy going? So everybody offered their suggestion. Well, he's going to burn in hell. He's got to wander in the Himalayas. He's going to be born as a worm in stool. And it went around, and it came to Prabhupada. You know what Prabhupada said? Prabhupada said, well, we could forgive him. Nobody had thought of that. You know, and then Prabhupada said, I must have offended him in a previous life, and now he's coming to take his revenge. So that's humility. So we'll just finish this quality. Next. And a tree doesn't discriminate who it gives its fruit to. Doesn't matter, doesn't pull back its branches and say, hey, no orange for you, buddy. You know, next. And it's kind shelter to all. Doesn't deny its shade, doesn't deny, it's kind to all. You sleep under a tree, it's warmer than out in the, they don't ever say, nah, not for you, buddy. Next. And they tolerate all kinds of offenses without complaint. You know, who was carved into them? I mean, not to get graphic, but dogs offer respect in their own way. Treat us, hey, come on. You know, they tolerate. Next. And they tolerate difficulty, not giving up one's duty. Even when there's pounding of, you know, what is it from the light of the Bhagavad? The storms pound on the mountain, but the mountain doesn't give up its principles and say, hey, I'm out of here. So we tolerate. We don't give up our principles. We don't, you know. Next. And even it gives up its body. Its body is used for service. So more tolerant than the tree. Next. I think we're done. So we'll take a pause then. And I don't know. We'll finish this some other time. It's got some good stuff in it. But thank you very much. So that's the main point I wanted to make was from the Bhagavatam verse, that the quality of humility and humble service to one's spiritual master, that I'm not God's gift to the earth. So I wanted to elaborate on this quality of humility being one of the keys to opening up knowledge and spiritual life, and one of the shoes that help us along the path to becoming Krishna conscious. So we can end there. All glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you. And this evening, this afternoon, what is it, 4 o'clock? 4:30. We're going to talk about why become a leader in ISKCON. Yeah. You know the reason? It's all the power and prestige. Yeah, Naikatma's laughing because he's been a temple president.